Spread, everybody here, fantasypoints.com, where Tom Brolley and I go through every NFL game on the Week 13 slate, talking point spreads, talking over-unders, talking props, talking injuries. T-Bro, 6 teams on bye in Week 13. Thanks a lot, NFL.
Right during the fantasy playoffs here, too. We got our big money league that's starts their playoffs this week. So, yeah, thanks, NFL. But the slate's not as big. We can focus more on the player props and everything this week.
Well, let's see here. Why is my camera out of focus? This is the perils of live television. Anyway, it's good to be with you, Tom. It's good to be with Trey Camberling, our big money guy behind the scenes of the crime, and taking home Trey. 20K Trey. Look at me. Watch him. He's making all the freaking money. I'm hitting shit. I'm trying to fix my camera. This is stuff I could have done before the live stream. But good to be with Trey Camberling. He's going to take that money and he's going to move out of his.
He's got big plans for it already. That's what a fantasy points subscription gets you there.
Yeah, good for Trey. Well, let's see if we're going to take home 20K, Tom, this week on the.
We got a good start last night with JSN going over his receiving yards prop there.
Well, that's going to make the Twitter machine very unhappy because people love to rag on John and you when the Thursday night special doesn't hit.
Oh yeah, there's some people out there that enjoy it too. We were getting the back slaps here.
Hey, let me tell you, man. Like the internet, what's it? No good publicity is bad publicity. On my fucking article yesterday that I put, the mismatch report.
Oh gosh,
Trey pulled the quote that I had where I called CeeDee Lamb's matchup interesting. Well, of course, you put that in a mismatch report, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, you're telling me?" No, I'm not telling you to bench CeeDee Lamb, but I got a lot of interaction on it. So
hey, cast an over on his receiving yards prop for the season in Week 13. So that's I take
pretty
that.
Good.
It was an early cash on that one. So this is this time of year too. We're getting some of these season long props are starting to cash here. So a couple of them suck too, but that you'll have that. But the CeeDee Lamb, that was a fun game last night. I don't know about you, Joe. I thoroughly enjoyed that. We haven't had too many games like that. We had the Bills-Eagles last week, which was a fun little shootout. We haven't just not enough shootouts this year, but that was a fun little back and
for sure. No doubt about that. And we're going to have, as we approach playoff time, these are going to get more and more common. Tom, we got a slate to talk about though.
Okay.
And let's start with a game that has a very high total. I guarantee you, one of these players here is going to be the cover boy for Scott Barrett's DFS breakdown tomorrow. And I actually think it's going to be Sam Howell because I know that's been a big debate. We'll see which side Scott comes down on. But the Commanders are catching 9.5 at home, 49.5 the total against the Dolphins. The Dolphins, very much Dallas-like in terms of, man, when they are up against a decidedly inferior opponent, they blow them out. And that's what the expectation is here. Miami laying 9.5 on the road in Washington. Tom, what's your analysis of the side and the total, which the total, by the way, is the highest on the slate?
Yeah, it stayed there all week here. It opened at 49.5 for the week. So it's just kind of sat there right above that key number of 49. Opened 8.5 as well. It's been bet up to 9.5. No real pressure to the 10 though. It's kind of just sat here for the last couple days at 9.5. So maybe on Sunday, once the public starts to come in and wants to bet the Dolphins, maybe those bump up to -10. But I'm kind of leaning here towards the Commanders. I mean that game got lopsided last week on Thanksgiving Day, but for 45 minutes or so, that was a pretty close. Dallas was only up 13 points or so through the first 3 quarters, and so I think the Commanders can stay frisky and. I think they have a little more offensive juice than what the Jets showed last week. That was only a matter of time before they collapsed against the Dolphins. I think, the back door could be open in this one for Sam Howell. So I kind of prefer the 9.5 on this side. But if you're with me, you might as well just wait till Sunday. Maybe a 10 will pop up here.
Yeah, Tom, you're right about that Cowboys Commanders game. It was competitive until the fourth quarter, and then it just completely collapsed on Washington.
Yeah, the floodgates just opened up, and it was the Deron Bland pick 6. But I thought it was a pretty tight game throughout for at least the first 3 quarters of the game, and then it just got a little lopsided. But I prefer the Washington side, but for ATS purposes.
Did you hit anything in the prop market in this game, Tom? Full rack of props. Devon Achane is going to play in this game. His rushing yard prop at 40.5, 48.5 for Raheem Mostert. I mean, boy, I would have to have some big cojones to bet a Devon Achane prop in this one.
Yeah, he's one of the toughest guys on the slate. I mean, that number is real. I mean, before the injury a couple of weeks ago, that number I think got bet up. I think we gave it out at like, I think Graham and I both were on that. It was like 46.5 or so. Got bet up to like the low 50s. So I would expect some, that it is shaded towards the under at minus 120 at 40.5. But so this prop is opening much lower than it was just a couple of weeks ago. I guess there's still at least a little bit of concern that he could be limited in this game, and maybe he doesn't get his full rack of carries in this game. So the other interesting prop, I didn't actually bet anything on this game. Nothing has really stood out to me, but the Tyreek Hill receiving yards number is pretty fascinating. They couldn't open it high enough here. FanDuel opened it at 104.5. DraftKings is showing 97.5. So if you're looking to get on this, Tyreek Hill is on pace to potentially get to 2K, as a receiver. And Washington's pass defense has been one of the worst in the league all season. We've been exploiting them all year. So we'll see what the Commanders have in store here to try to slow them down. Of course, they did fire their defensive coordinator, Jack Del Rio, after that Thanksgiving game. So we'll see if the new defense, who is actually calling the defense now. I'm sure Ron Rivera will probably play a hand in some of the play calling. And
I'm not Ron Rivera holding up the boat. Let's see. Rivera's taking it over.
That's what I kind of figured, that he's a defensive guy. So I figured that he might actually just take over the play calling. So 97.5. If you're looking to get on that, the DraftKings is certainly the better book for that. If you're doing a Tyreek prop, though, I probably would do some ladders on that. I mean, we could see him if he's going to get to 2K. This is a game he's probably got to get like 130 at least. So I would lean towards the Tyreek Hill over his 97.5, as crazy as it is.
Don't think James Harrison's playing in this one, Tom, but Joey Porter Jr. is. The Steelers are laying 6 at home. Yes. All right, Steez. That's a Steelers line. Laying 6 at home. 41.5 the total. The post-Matt Canada era Steelers are, Tom, not only are they they are like firmly in the driver's seat for a playoff spot now. Post-Matt Canada, and I mean, if they
got 2 cupcakes coming up here, Cardinals, and then Patriots. God damn it, we have to watch that Thursday night next week. Yeah. That's an optional viewing for other people that aren't Steelers fans. But
you'll be watching.
I will be. Just hoping that they don't blow it. But this is. We'll see what happens this week. Maybe they'll open up as touchdown favorite, 7-point favorites in that New England Patriots game, depending on what they do this week. This has kind of been sitting at 5.5 for most of the week, but some 6s, some 6.5s are starting to pop. My first instinct is I can't lay the points with the Steelers in this. They don't have enough offensive firepower to put away a team and win by this kind of margin. But the Cardinals injury report is a disaster this week. It looks like they'll get some guys back, but it looks like Trey McBride will play. But their offensive skill players were all banged up. Certainly some key players on their defense that's not very good to begin with. So they had no life in that Rams game. The Rams stuck it to them there. So I'm leaning towards. I gave it a 5.5 with our staff picks yesterday, but I'm leaning towards the Steelers here. Maybe. What we saw last week, maybe Kenny Pickett will throw for 2 touchdown passes. My God, it's been almost a calendar year since he's done it. I think the Las Vegas Raiders on Christmas Eve, or I think it was Christmas Eve, was the last time they actually did it. So this is setting up well for the Steelers to carry over some of that offensive success that they had last week.
Tom, how about the prop market here? Are you buying anything on Deontay Johnson following the body language?
Yeah, he finally came out this week and said, "Oh yeah, I need to stop being so lazy." Basically, but I do have we got down on the site here, gave it out in Discord in the Brolley's Bets article. Najee Harris over 47.5 rushing yards. It's been bet up quite a bit since then. I still kind of like it if it's still sitting in this 53.5, 54.5 yard range. I think they're going to be able to. I honestly kind of like Najee, Jalen Warren's prop as well. I just went for the more. I think I love the stat that he's like leading the league, or at one of the top runners in explosive run rate this season. Just you never think of Najee Harris that way, but I think he's going to get some volume in this game. We saw what the Rams running backs did in this matchup with Royce Freeman and Kyron Williams going absolutely nuts last week. So I think we could get a little bit of volume for both Najee and Jalen Warren. I like both of their over their rushing yard props.
Atlanta and the Jets, Tom, -2 at New York, and 33.5 the total. This is a brutal one. Bijan might get 25 carries in this game. Tyler Algier might also get 25 carries in this game, quite frankly. The Jets catching 2 with Tim Boyle at quarterback. As everybody anticipated, the Jets have completely collapsed because they decided that they weren't going to try to be competitive the rest of the season and throw all their eggs in the Zach Wilson basket, and Zach Wilson fumbled the eggs and broke them all. Tom, just a disaster for the Jets. I do not want to watch a second of this game because it will inevitably end with me getting pissed off for some ungodly reason.
Oh gosh, it's going to be. This is a fascinating game because my instincts tell me that you got to take the Jets and the points and the defense. Watching Desmond Ridder and how he turns the ball over, but I mean the Jets have been a one-way fade here for well over the last 6 weeks or so. So I'm with the Falcons here, laying the points. As gross as it is, there actually has been some movement towards the Jets this week, though. Kind of opened up in this. I have it here. It did open up in the 2.5 point range, and it did get up to 3 for a couple days there, but it has been bet down here. -2 at most books. There's a -1.5 at FanDuel. I'd lean towards the Falcon side, but I'm with you. I like the prop. You brought up Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson both getting 25 carries. We jumped on Bijan Robinson over 58.5 rushing yards. I like that up into the low 60s, like 63.5 up to that range. We have him projected for 81 rushing yards, and he's been getting a little bit more volume here recently, ever since Arthur Smith was catching so much flack for not giving him the ball. He's been at 62 or more yards in 3 of his last 4 games. And just the nature of this Jets offense, they're not sustaining much offense. So they're getting a lot of plays run against them. A lot of carries have accumulated. They're facing the second most carries per game at 26.3. So, I mean, I don't, unless Arthur Smith, which is completely possible that for whatever reason he wants to run Cordero Patterson over Bijan Robinson or something this week. There's no reason that Bijan shouldn't get to at least 12 carries this week in this matchup. It's not like the Jets are going to run and hide from them. So Bijan should be able to get his volume, and I like him over 58.5 and all the way up into the low 60s if it has moved.
I got to be honest.
Yes.
Breece Hall's got a prop of 52.5. He's topped that 3 times this year, none since week 5.
I know.
They haven't run for 60 rushing yards as a team, Tom, since week 5.
The offensive line is a disaster. The only thing that kind of kept me off of that one is just that I don't think the Falcons are going to. They've been in a lot of game scripts where they've fallen behind by 2 scores and they have to just completely abandon the run. So I think this week, I don't see the Falcons, jumping out by 14 points immediately, and they have to completely abandon the run. But I'm with you.
Can I throw another argumenting point there? Breece Hall has a hamstring injury.
Oh yeah, he was banged up all week here. So yeah, maybe I'll add it. I was also looking at that prop, and that's how because I like to give the back and forth, in my own head when I'm looking at player prop. And that was my argument against it, is that this should be a game where he should accumulate some volume. But, maybe I'll take a second look at that. I mean,
I'll tell you, I'm not taking the over. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. That's a one-way under there with Breece Hall. And the Falcons, I mean, I'm sure you probably highlighted it in your mismatch report multiple times this year. Their defensive line has played relatively well and has been good against the run. So it's not like it's a cupcake matchup either. So, maybe I'll take a second look at that this weekend, and maybe we'll be adding a Breece Hall under his rushing yards.
Yeah, so just keep an eye on that, and we will move on to the next game. Meanwhile, T-Bro, let's go to the chart. Oh god, the Chargers and the Patriots. The Chargers are laying 5.5. I know they're playing the Patriots. I am not laying 5.5 points with the LA Chargers. No way, no how. Does that mean I'm taking 5.5?
No, you don't want to do that either.
Absolutely not. This screams stay away from me, Tom. We've got the total of 40. What's your read on the spread and the total here? Chargers versus the Patriots.
I mean, this might be the biggest stay away game of the year. I mean, just two sides that you don't want any part of. Just two teams that have been very bad against the spread. I think the Chargers were like 4-7. I don't have it up in front of me, but I think the Patriots have covered 2 or 3 games this season. So two teams that if you've been fading all year, you've been making a lot of money. Personally, ATS pull we're making a pick. I would lean towards the Chargers. I think they can, maybe make a few more plays. Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler actually hasn't, he's looked like crap here the last couple of weeks. So I would lean towards the Chargers. Maybe this is like, it's all or nothing this week. They have to win this game, and obviously the Patriots have nothing to play for. But I mean, that's the argument for the Patriots. They're making a change at quarterback. Bailey Zappi is. I don't think they've actually announced anything officially, but he's been taking all the first team reps in practice this week. So
Spider-Man
maybe,
name.
yeah, I'm with you, but maybe he brings some stability because Mac Jones just looks completely shell shocked out there. But Zappi usually plays decent for 5 to 10 plays, and then he does something stupid just like Mac Jones. But maybe a full week of practice, maybe he can bring some sort of stability for this game. So even the prop wise, Joe, I looked through this. Nothing really standing out here. I mean, we're not taking any overs, obviously, with the Patriots. Yeah. I mean, even for as good as this matchup is, nothing's really popping. I always look at Juju Smith-Schuster unders. I was looking at his longest receptions, like 13.5. It's pretty tempting with Demario Douglas looking doubtful. I don't know if they've actually announced him out, but he didn't practice most of this week, so he should actually get some snaps this week. But nothing was really standing out prop-wise for this game.
So let's go to what might be one of the most interesting games, and Tom, I would argue the single most interesting game of the early slate, and I don't think it's close. A game with massive playoff implications. How about the Houston Texans?
Yeah.
Houston Texans hosting the Denver Broncos. Houston laying 47.5 the total. What if I were to tell you before the season that a week 13 Texans Broncos game would have a 47.5 total?
I would have said you're absolutely crazy. I would have said like, holy crap, Russell Wilson, is he up for the MVP? Like he's back. Sean Payton worked some miracles over that would have been probably my first reaction. Like, holy damn, man, Sean Payton really is the man. But it's the quarterback on the other side that's in the MVP race and looking fantastic here. So my initial instinct, I've been kind of fading the Broncos the last couple of weeks ever since the Bills victory, and it hasn't worked out too well for me. Had the Cleveland Browns last week. Quarterback got hurt, which certainly didn't help the Browns last week. But I'm leaning towards the Broncos here. We faded the Texans a couple of weeks ago when we had the Cardinals catching +6. They haven't been very good as favorites so far this year. They unfamiliar territory. They've been a team that to fade whenever they've been favorites. So I'm looking at the Broncos here, +3 at most places. There were 3.5s earlier this week on Wednesday and Thursday. There's still a 3.5 out there at FanDuel. But maybe if you're looking to get on that Broncos side, I don't think it gets to 2.5. It opened on Monday at 3. So the pressure is more towards the Houston side. So I think there might be a chance that some more 3.5 start to pop up later in the week. So if you're looking to get on the Broncos, I'd kind of wait it out and make sure you get a 3.5. Get that hook.
I do want to note this. Denver, part of their success recently has coincided with a lot of unders for them. I think they went up and over
it's
last
all
week.
Defense. Yeah.
Yeah, their defense has been great recently. So
That's a great point. If
credit
you're
for them.
looking, taking the plus 3.5, maybe you look to maybe parlay that, get a little side action, take the under as well. So usually when you're taking points anyway, the more correlated
Under's
play is
good,
to
yeah.
take an under. So if you're taking more favorites, you need more scoring. So if you're taking the Houston side, you probably look more towards the over 47.5.
All right, Tom, did you hit anything in the prop market in this game? I will say this.
Yeah,
Devin Singletary, 56.5 rushing yards. Denver's run defense is the one unit that has really continued to struggle for that team.
I was looking at those. I just didn't like how much Dameon Pierce was involved last week, though. I mean, his snaps weren't.
It was too much.
Yeah, exactly. His snap share wasn't very good. It was like 78-22. But whenever Dameon Pierce was out there, he was getting the ball. So I did look at those. We hit a Jerome Ford over last week. Didn't really even have to sweat that, even with their issues and falling way behind in that game. He pretty easily cleared the 48.5. So that's been a prop that we've been hitting, just backing running backs going against this Broncos run defense. But this week, I'm probably going to stay away. Just that was Dameon Pierce's first game back. I don't think it was a good idea with the way Singletary's playing, but this coaching I don't know how they're going to approach that. Maybe Pierce gets more work this week now that he's another game away from his injury. So that I stayed away from that one. A prop that we've been hitting a little bit here. I haven't actually bet it, but I'm keeping my eye on it. Is Samaje Perine over his receiving yards? Yeah, Russell Wilson.
Yeah, Russell's been a big check down guy.
Oh yeah, I mean that's why they've been such an under team. He's not taking many risks, and just looking at this game, we think that they're going to be pushed to throw a little bit more playing against the Texans. 3.5 point underdogs, so they could be in the hurry up and in more passing situations, which is where Samaje Perine plays. He plays in the hurry up. He plays in the 4-minute offense. So and he's been money in the bank. I mean, just it's not a sexy play, but he's like automatic for 15 receiving yards every week. So last week I think was the first time he didn't hit it, or maybe he just had a catch last week. But that was a game that they were playing from well ahead all game against the Browns. So I don't think that's going to be the case this week. I think the Texans will be playing from ahead, or playing in a pretty neutral game script. So I think Samaje Perine could get some opportunities here. I'm keeping my eye on it. It's 16.5. It's just like a touch too high. I was hoping to maybe get it like 14.5, 15.5, but one I'm monitoring. I still might give it out at 16.5, but that's a prop I'm watching this weekend.
Detroit travels to New Orleans, -4 on the road, 47 the total. Jared Goff playing indoors. I think he's got a lot of good indoor matchups coming the rest of the season. They're laying 4 on the road. And the problem here for the Saints, Tom, is they might not have receivers. I mean,
they're going to have Chris Johnson playing receiver.
Yeah, Chris Olave is questionable. He might clear the concussion protocol,
yeah,
but he had
did
one
he get
last
a full
year.
practice in today? Because that seems to be I know he was limited most of this week, and they said he's got one more step to go. But I think you got to get that full practice in on Fridays to have a chance to play.
He was full today. He was full.
Okay,
today,
so he's got a chance then. Because that
which
would
be very good for them.
Yeah, yes, very good for Derek Carr as well. A.T. Perry was looking like he would have to be the number 1 receiver if Olave can't play. So obviously he still has a step to go, but hopefully we get some sort of word tomorrow. And as a consequence, there's not a whole lot of player props out there for the Saints. Spread wise, this game opened 3.5 on Monday. So it has been bet up a little bit. It was like pretty solid 4.5 across the board for much of the week, but there has been some pressure down to 4 here, probably on the heels of the news that Olave might play. He's they're an offense that has cluster injuries at wide receiver. So to be able to get your top wide receiver back would be a key injury, key player back for them. So I think that's why this line has moved back down towards 4. Me personally, I'm leaning towards the Lions side. I think Dan Campbell and the boys, he's probably been up their asses here for the last 10 days after that embarrassing performance on Thanksgiving Day. And I just don't trust the Saints. I'm sure the Saints will move the ball, but are they going to actually score touchdowns to keep up with the Lions offense? I guess maybe the bigger concern, probably the one reason I'm probably staying off of this game is my concerns with Jared Goff. His play has slipped significantly here the last 2 weeks. It's coincided with his offensive line really playing poorly here. Lost 3 fumbles last week. Had a multiple interception game 2 weeks ago. So my lean is towards the Lions, but just they're not playing. They're not clicking like they were a couple of weeks ago, both offensively and defensively.
Now I'm gonna guess, Tom. I'm editing your. I'm gonna edit your Game Hubs live here on the show. I'm gonna guess the Lions being 1-10 and 1-8-2 against the spread is a typo.
Yeah, that was probably the Panthers there.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what though. The reason you didn't catch it is because that used to be the Lions. That's usually what they were. Not this year. The prop market, Tom. The Saints' run defense exploitable. The Lions run the ball on everybody. But the prop market extremely thin right now.
Yeah.
Because we don't know who the Saints are going to have available at receiver. So really, if you're hitting props, you're probably hitting Lions props in this one. I don't know if you hit on anything.
Yeah, and there's nothing. The Lions have kind of become the same team every week, so their props are all kind of right in the same neighborhood. The one I was looking at, it's just not the right matchup though. This is a pretty good Saints secondary, even with Marshawn Lattimore out. Jamison Williams, I think, might. I'm hesitant to say he's turning a corner, but they seem to be taking the training wheels off of him a little bit. His snap share, his route shares, they're all, been at, the best marks they've been the last couple of weeks. So it's still a little thin here with his targets, and but I think they're starting to gain some confidence in him. I might double back on that one and consider taking it. But yeah, if this matchup was just a little bit easier, that's the one thing that kind of has me off of the Jamison Williams prop. But it's at 23.5. Easily something he can do with one catch if he gets the right matchup. But otherwise, there's nothing that's really standing out. As you said, the Saints, not a whole lot out there for them as they wait on the Olave status.
This game has it has one-way playoff implications, at least. Indianapolis travels to Tennessee, and AFC South games can always get weird, Tom. Yes. Indy's laying 1.5, 42.5 pretty much across the board out there, maybe some 42s out there. Indianapolis against Tennessee, bordering on a pick'em here, Tom. Vrabel is a home dog, normally a good bet on spot, but this is not the same Tennessee team that we've seen in recent years in terms of their ability to really just take it to teams.
Their offensive line isn't the same. Derrick Henry isn't quite the same. Yeah, this is one I gave out. I liked the Colts early in the week. Gave it out -1.5. The line had pushed to 2.5, and it looked like it might be knocking on 3. And then we got the Jonathan Taylor news on Tuesday. So a little bit of misfortune. We'll have that every once in a while. So the line has moved back down to where we initially betted at, but still like the Colts here. I like what we saw out of Zach Moss. He missed the first game of the year, but kind of filled in for Jonathan Taylor and put up some monster numbers. We need him this week in our big money league there, Joe. We need Zach Moss to. Oh,
we need him. And we lucked out, too.
Yes, we did. We lucked out. I did not lock out taking the Colts here, but I still think they can get it done here, -1.5. I'd still like the Colts. The Titans covered last week. They have been a good team against the spread at home, even this season. So they have been a good home team, but I was not impressed at all in that victory over the Panthers. Only ran 53 plays, just completely unacceptable against that Panthers, offense and defense last week. He ran 38 plays the week before that. They've just had major struggles sustaining offense, and I think that could be an issue with a Colts team that's plays at a hyper speed, and they're one of the the highest in terms of plays run per game, under Shane Steichen here. So I like the Colts here, but you're right. It is a little, these AFC South games can be a little bit weird, and but yeah, I like the Colts here. They've covered in all 3 of the games that they've been less than field goal favorites so far this year. They've done the average covered margin by up over 6 points. So they've been good in this spot where they've been less than field goal favorites, and I kind of like it to continue. This was a game that we've already seen earlier in the season, back in early October. Colts won that game 23-16, and that was even with Anthony Richardson leaving in the first quarter of that game. They were 2.5-point, underdogs in that game, and they won there. So, yeah, I like the Colts -1.5, even without Jonathan Taylor.
Did you hit anything in the prop market for this one?
No, this was one I did look over. We've been money in the bank. Josh Downs, one of our favorite player props of the year, just automatically taking his over 4.5 when he's, whenever he's not on the injury report and when he's healthy. But the books have finally caught on. I think we've been able to get like plus 130 on that the last, 2 or 3 different times so far this season. But that opportunity has passed. He's now like -120 at over 4.5. So passed on that one. I also considered Michael Pittman's props just a touch. They're about where they should be. He was like 67.5 receiving yards. His receptions is at 6.5, I believe. Really wanted to take one of those, but they're set in a pretty good spot. So ended up staying away from them. Titans side, nothing really intrigued me there. Hopkins I was thinking about, but he's had some weird usage the last couple of weeks. He was not on the field as nearly as much as he has been in the past. He's been battling injuries for much of the season, so ended up staying away from Hopkins props as well. So nothing really popping out just yet, but maybe I'll come back to those Downs and Pittman props and take another look.
So let's go to the afternoon slate, Tom. And let me tell you, if you're interested in betting on this game, I don't know who is interested in betting on this game, but if you are, you better shop around because we are looking at the Panthers at Tampa Bay. Tom, I am seeing 4.5. I am seeing 5. I am seeing 5.5. So if for some ungodly reason you think the Panthers are the kind of team that can get the new coach bump, go find that 5.5. If you think the Buccaneers are just completely outclass them, even with a hobbled Baker Mayfield, maybe no Chris Godwin, go grab that 4.5, go lay that 4.5. It all over the place, this line, Tom, but none of it really at a key number, of course.
Yeah, it was at a key number until the firing. It had been bet up to 6. I believe it even opened 6 on Monday. I have, Tampa Bay was -6 on Monday. So, but as soon as the Panthers announced that Frank Reich would be fired, we're seeing it. That new coach bump is kind of real. So money flooded in on the Panthers immediately after that. That's the side I'm on. I'm following the trend. Hey, we even saw it last week with the Steelers. They fire a guy that they absolutely despise. They get a cover there as well. So maybe we would look at both the Commanders and the Panthers here this week with firing coordinators and firing head coaches. Certainly, the Panthers have gotten some money there. So that's the side I'm leaning to, but nothing really makes me feel good about betting on the Panthers this week. Nothing about their play says they're close to, turning a corner here, even with a coaching change. So, but that's my lane here. The Buccaneers have actually been a pretty good against the spread team, despite their record, but they did blow. They didn't get a cover last week, so Baker Mayfield was a little hobbled in that game as well. They couldn't quite do the tush push. He's not built like Jalen Hurts. There, he busts his ankle. Very nasty. And so we'll see if he's playing at 100%. He did not look quite right the rest of that game. So just another reason maybe to look at the Panthers here, as gross as it is.
So, Tom, one of the things that I have to point out is with Frank Reich and Deuce Staley getting fired, Miles Sanders
as well.
Yeah. Miles Sanders rushing prop is 7.5 in terms of his carries. I might be tempted to take the under there because apparently Deuce Staley was the one who
he was the guy
advocated to sign Miles Sanders. Now, maybe you're like 7.5 is too low a number. Maybe you just then not parlay, but then maybe you decide, all right, maybe I'll take Chuba Hubbard's over the carries if they're not going to give Miles Sanders the ball. But I wonder maybe they get Blackshear a little bit more involved. This
is a good run defense as well. I mean, we're always I'm on a prop that's kind of related to how good their run defense is. I have Bryce Young over his passing attempts at 31.5 because nobody wants to run the ball against the Buccaneers. So it is shaded towards Miles Sanders is 7.5. Yeah, there is a -105 out there for DraftKings. Most other books BetMGM has it minus 125. His rushing yards number is at 26.5, 27.5, a couple different books. So that was one I did look at. I also have to wonder, maybe David Tepper. He's been meddling all season. Maybe he is calling the shots. He did fire Frank Reich. Maybe he's the tells them, hey, you got to play Miles Sanders. I'm paying this guy a lot of damn money. But maybe. But I did take Bryce Young over his passing attempts. 31.5, minus 115 at ESPN Bet. It's 32.5, 33.5 at some other books. So I like this number. Been over 33 attempts in 7 of his 10 games. He's been at 31. The number, we got to get over 31, but he's been at 31 in 9 of 10. So he's right around this number every week. Tampa Bay has faced the 7th most attempts from opposing quarterbacks. So 5.5 point road underdogs. I think there's a chance that he could get a little bit of volume here, because I don't think they're going to have much success running the ball behind this offensive line. So looking at over 31.5 pass attempts for Bryce Young.
Cleveland at LA. The former Cleveland Rams are hosting the Cleveland Browns. 3.5 the Rams are laying. You could get a 4 if you like Cleveland. 40.5 the Toto. The Toto.
The
Toto. 40.5 the total. T-Bro. Yep. Are you wacky for Flacky? Are you laying it with Joe Flacco? Flacco's starting, baby. 40.5 the total. The Browns are catching 4 from the Rams. Are we betting on old Joe to bring it home here? Myles Garrett obviously dinged up.
Yeah, Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward. Did we get they just listed as questionable? Denzel Ward was another guy I was kind of waiting to see on that game.
Let me interact in the old Google machines there, T-Bro. Let's see here. Oh God, of course the Browns are one of those that doesn't
up their injury reports.
Doesn't update their injury report. Let's see here.
Crazy.
Denzel Ward is out.
I figured he was a DNP all
I think it looks like Garrett's gonna play.
Yeah, I kind of got that feeling. They were I saw Mary Kay Cabot showing him doing some push-ups on a ball. And if your shoulder is banged up, I'd say that would be pretty difficult. So kind of figured that was a good sign that he might be playing. But I'd lean towards the Cleveland side here. I think this is a tad high. I thought this should be closer to a field goal. If I had any kind of confidence in Wacko for Flacco, I would be taking this. I also got burned by the Browns last week in a kind of a similar situation, in Denver, getting 2.5 points. Did not come particularly close to covering. I do feel a little bit, I think I feel a little bit better about the Browns with Flacco at quarterback compared to DTR and PJ Walker, but I say that with extremely tepid saying that, because we've seen some pretty bad Flacco play, but the one thing we know about him, he of the 3 quarterbacks, he'll have the best chance of getting the ball to his receivers down the field. So, the Rams were, a team that everybody was kind of written off here. They lose to the Packers before the bye without Stafford, and that line was pretty cheap against the Cardinals last week, and they completely blew them out. So. This is, I was at least a little bit surprised that they're up over a full field goal here. So this is like a strong lean towards the Browns, but I can't quite put my money on Joe Flacco. That's just not how I want to live my Sundays. I don't want to be sitting there sweating Joe Flacco and then watch him throw a pick 6 like on the final drive of the game. So I'm not going to do it.
Did you bet on any Flacco props or Flacco adjacent props?
No, I actually haven't seen them, because that news kind of just came out.
Yeah, they must.
So what are his? I was just kind of curious.
Well,
I'm gonna guess like 190, somewhere in that range for his
100.
Wow. Okay.
205. He's minus 238 to throw a touchdown. Okay. Amari Cooper 46.5. Elijah Moore 33.5. David Njoku 44.5.
Yeah, that's kind of where those numbers have been the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I'm seeing 198.5 for Flacco at FanDuel. Yeah. I'm not going to be, won't be betting those props. Nothing really stood out. Oh, I do have one. I have Matthew Stafford under his passing yards. We got it at 232.5. Bet the under on that. I see it has moved to 220 at DraftKings, 222.5. I still lean towards the under there, especially now that we know Myles Garrett is, well, we don't know, but it seems like he's trending towards playing. So, yeah, I have it here. We have him projected for 195. Cleveland's allowing the fewest passing yards per game, 163.5. And Cleveland has held 9 of 11 quarterbacks to 223 yards or fewer. So, and this game is under the 40-point mark in terms of a total. So, liking Matt Stafford to go under his number. He hasn't looked quite right either. Cooper Kupp doesn't look right. I think this is going to be a lot of Kyron and Royce in the running game here.
All right, Tom, let's get to it. I got to be honest.
The main event.
You are going to laugh, and you're going to score. You're going to scald. Is scald's not the word I'm looking for?
Scold you. I would never.
Scold. Scold's the word I'm looking for, not scald. You're not going to throw like boiling water on it. I got to be honest, man. In terms of being a fan of a 10-1 NFL team.
Oh, you're disrespected.
This is like the least enjoyable time I've ever had being a fan, because literally every time I turn around, there's some chucklehead saying, "Oh, the Eagles aren't that good. Jalen Hurts shouldn't be the MVP. Dak Prescott should be the MVP. Tyreek Hill should be the MVP." And it's like just every fucking metric out. Oh God, here's this thing. The Eagles are behind 4 teams they've beaten already. It's legitimately an unenjoyable experience. And that is a major first world problem. I understand that. But here we go again. The Eagles are catching 3 at home, 48 the total against the 49ers, Tom. What's your read on the side and the total here with the Eagles at home at 10-1 catching 3 points?
I'm one of those people that's on the 49ers, Joe. I'm sorry. I gave it out on Monday, -1.5. We got some good line movement on that one.
Three's a lot different than 1.5 too.
Yes. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
At 3, I would still lean towards the 49ers here, but Steelers fans, Steelers got a lot of crap about getting outgained every week and winning, and now the shoe is on the Eagles' foot here. They've been getting smoked the last 4 weeks in terms of yardage, and they've been finding ways to win games. I'm just skeptical that it's going to continue to happen against the best team in the NFL right now, in my opinion. We'll see. Eagles can certainly. They have the opportunity to show that they are the best team this weekend against the 49ers. But I'm of the opinion that the 49ers are the best team. And schedule-wise, though, I mean, this is a tough. Just if we're just stripping everything about. It's the Eagles played Monday night 2 weeks ago. Went down to the wire. Pull out an emotional victory over the Chiefs. You got to go close to 70 minutes in rain against the Bills last week. A lot of plays played in that game. Get a little banged up. Fletcher Cox, and they're having some trouble at linebacker with their injuries there. And they got the Cowboys next week, which is all these games.
By the way,
yes.
Let me just point this out, just because everybody's like, "Oh, the refs are on the Eagles side and this is on the Eagles." They get both the 49ers and Cowboys off of extra rest.
And I was just about to get to that. That was my final point, was that the 49ers got 10 days to prepare for this game. They got extra rest. So just an absolutely brutal spot, which is what, I think if everything was kind of equal and it was like both teams coming in with, 7 days, and Eagles played, didn't play a gauntlet right before it. I think this line is probably in that 1.5 point range, but I think some of the external factors have pushed this line to 3 points. So I think that's why it's at 3. If it was, normal conditions, I think 49ers are probably short favorites here, -1, -1.5.
Let's look at the prop market, Tom. It's pretty robust, I would say. A lot of good matchups across the board. All of our DFS guys are highlighting matchups on both sides that people like. What, did you hit anything here that you like in the prop matchups?
Yeah, I did. I think there is a little bit concerned that there could be a little bit of rain again this weekend for this matchup. I think there's supposed to be some scattered storms, but I still took some receiving props. I mean, I liked both Brandon Ayuk over 59.5 receiving yards. We have him projected for 80 yards. I think that number has gone up a little bit here. I like it into like the mid 60s. I think they'll be pushed to throw a little bit here this week. The Eagles play a lot of man coverage. He's been their man beater for most of the season here and last year as well. It's 4.919 yards per route run and a 28% target share against man coverage for Brandon Ayuk. So I like him, and I also kind of like George Kittle this week as well, with their issues in the middle of the field for the Eagles. But couldn't quite get there, especially since I already have I like the Brandon Ayuk one a little bit more. So I also have Devonta Smith. I'm going to keep riding this one. We've been betting this prop the last couple of weeks, and it's been a winner. 57.5 receiving yards for him. This could be another week where we get A.J. Brown catching a shadow from Travarius Ward. He did well against DK Metcalf last week. Teams have been paying a little bit extra attention to A.J. Brown since he had that historic run earlier this season. So no Dallas, well, not official. It looks doubtful for Dallas Goedert. He did get a practice in today, but it seems like they're more angling for him to come back. We do see this with these guys that have been out multiple weeks. They like to get guys back out for a Friday practice in preparation for the next week. So I would think we get Goddard back next week. And I think Adam Kaplan, our insider, has even been saying that they're angling for him to come back soon, but I would expect him back against Dallas. So like Devonta Smith again, 99 yards or more in 3 of his last 4 games. And, the 49ers, this is, they don't have many weaknesses, but, away from Charvarius Ward, I think, could be a good matchup here for Devonta Smith.
The Chiefs are at the Packers. Not often you see the Packers catching 6 in Lambeau Field, but they are this week. 42.5 the total. The Chiefs laying 6 on the road. Are the Chiefs the kind of team you're happy to lay 6 with on the road against maybe not a great Green Bay team, but certainly one coming off an impressive performance against the Lions?
Yeah, I think they're improving for sure. I was actually going to probably bet the Packers this week if it got to 7, but the line has gone the other way. It opened up at 6.5 this week. And people had the same feeling as me that maybe not necessarily that Jordan Love and the Packers offense is like, all of a sudden a world beater, but I think that they have found a level of competence, and certainly we'll find out just how competent they are against this Chiefs defense, one of the best defenses in the league. They have run into some cupcake defenses the last couple of weeks that may have aided the offensive performances for the Packers the last couple of weeks. But I'm leaning heavily towards the Packers here at +6, but since this line moved the opposite direction, I probably will not get it. I kind of want the full touchdown here with the Packers, and it sure doesn't seem like that's going to happen this week, but we'll keep an eye on it, and maybe it does pop to 7 at some point. Chiefs, certainly take a lot of money, and Packers are a pretty public team too. So I don't have a whole lot of faith that we see a 7 here, but something we'll keep an eye on.
Anything in the prop market that tickles your pickle, Tom? Rashee Rice is down at 47.5. I don't know if I'm hitting that off of one game. I think the Chiefs are smart enough to figure out that Rashee Rice is certainly their best receiver. I don't know if I'm going to go after that just after one 100-yard game, though.
Yeah, it's a pretty significant uptick for his receiving yards prop. He's kind of been sitting in that 42.5-yard range. So and he did run more routes last week, but I'm not like convinced. Andy Reid is never going to play. He's just set on not playing these receivers, making them full-time players. So his role improved a little bit last week, but it wasn't like substantial where I'm like, oh, I got to run out and bet that 47.5 now. He's a talented player though. I would lean towards the over on his prop. One I did bet was Tucker Kraft under his receiving yards at 26.5 and under 2.5 receptions. Just a little half unit plays on both of those. Filled in for Luke Musgrave last week, but 8 targets so far this year, Joe. How many air yards do you think Tucker Kraft has on 8 targets so far this season?
Was the one that he had 2 weeks ago down the field catch, or was that a catch?
That was all run. That was all.
All right, let me guess. 8.
No, 21. Okay, not quite, but just under 3 yards per target there for Mr. Kraft. So not a whole lot of downfield action for him. Chiefs have been really good against opposing tight ends as well, allowing the 3rd fewest yards per game at 36 and the 4th fewest catches at 3.9 to tight ends. So, we're on the low end here, but Does look like Jaden Reed will play, and they're going to have their full allotment of receivers. So I'm not expecting big things from Mr. Tucker Kraft. So betting his unders here.
Well, let's go down to Monday night. I would guess about 3 weeks ago, ESPN was thrilled about this, and now they're sick of it. Jacksonville's laying 8.5 at home against Cincinnati, and obviously Jake Browning, 38.5 the total. I've heard this talked about on other shows, and I completely agreed with this. When you look at Jake Browning's box score, you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad. But when you watch the game, you're like, oh, that was that bad. So I'm not really sure what to think here. Jamar Chase had 4 catches for 82 yards. 2 of them, I think his 2 longest games were on deflected passes. Yep. Jacksonville justifiably laying 8.5 with Trevor Lawrence and Calvin and Zay Jones back all of a sudden unlocking this pass game. Trevor Lawrence has looked better the last couple of weeks. Not just better, legitimately very good the last couple of weeks. Jacksonville laying 8.5. As they now, Tom, are very much angling for the number 1 seed in the AFC.
I know, unbelievable. I'm kicking myself because there were one team I did give out some like Super Bowl props and some AFC. I'm like, part of my reasoning was that it's been kind of wrong, but it's also kind of played out that way that I thought the AFC South would suck so bad that they could have a nice path to get the number 1 seed. And I should have placed a bet on them getting the number 1 seed. It probably would have been 15 or 20 to 1 back at that time. But I lean towards the Jaguars in this game, minus 8.5. I'm not betting the Bengals here until we actually see this defense is kind of cratering a little bit as well. Allowed the Steelers to get to 400 yards last week.
That's a pretty good example of a defense cratering, I'll tell you.
Exactly, letting Kenny Pickett throw all over you. So Trevor Lawrence, they could probably might be able to name their score in this one. So I'm leaning heavily towards 8.5. This might be one I eventually add to because this is one that I think the Jaguars will kind of be up for too. It's not like they get many opportunities. This has been a franchise that nobody wants to put them in prime time, so they don't get many opportunities to play on Sunday night or Monday night at home. So I think they could be jacked up for this one as well. So this might be one I do eventually add because I have a feeling this is going to get to 10 by the time Monday rolls around. So we'll kind of see how this injury report plays out a little bit this time, but it looks like they're going to have the full cast. And so, they did lose Cam Robinson. Looks like he's going to be out a couple of weeks for an injury, but lean towards a strong lean towards the Jaguars here, laying 8.5.
Tom, did you get anything in the prop market? I know the Monday props don't come out very early, but we have close to a full rack here, and it does look like T. Higgins is going to play for the Bengals, though there's no T. Higgins prop just yet.
Yeah, I did jump on one here. We did get a few props out early. Took Evan Ingram over 4.5 catches, plus 110. Thought that was really juicy. I guess the one concern would be that the Jaguars just build this massive lead and they don't have to throw a whole lot in the second half. But we saw what the Steelers' game plan right away last week was: throw it to our tight end, throw it in the middle of the field toward tight end early and often. And Freiermuth kind of has it's not exactly, but he plays a lot in the slot like Evan Ingram does. So Bengals have been a team that we've been picking on for tight ends all season long. So to get plus 110, it's still out there too. At BetMGM, it's plus 100 now at DraftKings, but I'm already seeing FanDuel that they have the little sharper lines. That's minus 108. So I don't think this plus number is going to last very long for Evan Ingram. So if you want to get a little plus money on Evan Ingram over 4.5 catches, jump on that as soon as you can.
T-Bro, it's been good talking to you here in week 13. Good to be back after the Thanksgiving slate. And you and your mom's carrier pigeon internet speed.
Oh my God, Joe! Trying to watch. Maybe it was for the best, but I was trying to watch that damn Black Friday game on my mom's streaming internet. Oh my God, it was. We'd have to like pause and let it buffer for like a minute at a time. Like eventually in the second half, once that game, I'm like sweating out.
I'm done.
I'm just like, fuck it, I'm done. I don't even want to watch the end of this. Let's just turn it off. So yeah, it's not ideal at my mom's house, but and of course, my player props, we should probably mention that at the beginning. Doing really well here in the last couple of weeks. 9-2 last week, and we got a victory last night. So hopefully the good vibes continue.
All right, T-Bro, it's great to be with you. It's great to be with Trey Camberling. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for the Point Spread. Make sure you stay tuned to the Fantasy Points YouTube channel, obviously, Fantasy Points live stream channel for the Cashing Points DFS live stream, the very live stream that helped producer Trey win $20,000 last week.
He'll be watching.
I'm sure he will. Maybe you should be hosting. All right, no. Obviously, the guys do an unbelievable job. Scott Graham and Jake Tribby do a wonderful job. Thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you later.